again and welcome to our next video. Week 6 predictions. Hard to believe, right? 6 weeks already as we enter into week 6, and what better way to start our week than listening to a little Metallica to get us excited about this week and our predictions. But before we get into the predictions, just a couple of things on where we're at for the week. So like we said, right, we're in week 6. That technically started on Thursday, but really starts officially, I guess, this Sunday and Monday. Total weeks for the regular season, 14. So, week 14 is the last week of the regular season. So really one more week. Once we, enter about week 7, we'll be about halfway. The playoffs for, our league here are week 15 through 17. So if you think about it, so we're in week 6, we play the regular season through week 14, and then the top 6 teams, of course, will play in the playoffs, and that's week 15 through 17. And of course, the playoffs end before we hit week 18, which is something we had set up in our previous leagues to make sure that we're not playing in that very last and final week, because you never know who's playing, who's benching their starters, and things like that. So since next week will be about halfway, we'll probably do something special, and it will be, maybe, and I don't know if it'll be separate than the actual review. It probably will, based on timing and things like that. So we'll probably do still a week 6 review video on Tuesday, and then somewhere between then and Saturday we'll talk about where we at halfway through, who's looking good, who's awful, and do a little bit of grading and kind of look back at who's had the best team so far, who's handled their team the best so far. We'll pass out some grades, which I'm excited to give out. I can already tell you right now, Ian's probably going to have a pretty darn good grade, knowing that he's 4-1 and has a ton of points for and leading the league. We'll look at the draft a little bit and analyze where he went wrong, where he went right, and then we'll look at some of the teams that are not doing so well, and then we'll talk a little bit about what they didn't do right, where they went wrong, and all that good stuff. And then, since we love to do predictions, we'll do some new playoff predictions as well starting next week. So the good news is the majority of the teams that I predicted to be in the playoffs should be on track, are pretty darn close, minus Ian, who I know I didn't pick in there, and Sean, who I didn't pick in there. But still, we've got another week. Let's say if they happen to both lose, that could still shake some things up and all that good stuff. So just expect that for next week, that we will talk a little bit about, what the first half does look like. We'll hand out some grades, and we'll talk new playoff predictions. So, but fantastic. That's next week. Let's get into this week in week 6. So let's look at the breakdown. Of course, we'll save the best game for last, and that's always the game that I am in. So Jay and my game we will discuss at the end. So we'll start with Sean and Will. So the start of this, I really want Will to win this game. I've got that in my notes, and now I'll probably say it again 3 more times as we go through. But as we look at the breakdowns, I'm going to give the quarterback edge to Sean. Fields is predicted to score more points. Mayfield's going against Detroit. So far, Detroit's looked really good and good, strong defense, so I'm definitely going to give that edge to Sean. I will give the running back edge to Will, though. He's got Mostert and Henry, so should have good games, especially with Miami being a little banged up, so he should be in line to get the majority of the touches. But almost everything else kind of goes in the favor of Sean. Wide receiver, I'm giving that to Sean with Hill and Moore, and even I don't know what Williams is going to do, but you would think probably outscore at least the 6.5% or the points that are on there. I will say tight end, though, is pretty close, so I'll say that's a draw between the two teams. But I'm also going to give the favorite. I know we don't talk kicker and defense very often, but his kicker has already given him 17 points, so you definitely got to give that edge to Sean. So with that being said, exactly what the breakdown almost says. It says Sean's going to win by about 15. A lot of that is because he already had his kicker do really, really well. I want Will to win for 2 reasons. Sorry, Sean, I didn't pick you in the playoffs, and I really want to stay close to how I picked. But I love competition in this league. So everybody being 3-3 and still fighting for a playoff spot. That's just where you want this league to be. And Will's 1-4. Another loss on Will puts him 1-5, and just in a challenging spot to come back. But although I want Will to win, I think I've said that 3 or 4 times now, I can't pick it. I'm going to say Sean is going to get the win this week based on having the majority of the favorites for positions. Sean gets the win and moves to 4-2. Next matchup, Clint versus Josh. Now, of course, this is one I know it's Josh and I that had to deal with the trade that we pushed through earlier. Josh, unfortunately, was probably the one that had to take the brunt of it because now Clint got an amazing tight end, got Kelsey, who scored 21 points, and that, unfortunately for Josh, just had to watch that trade get pushed through, and now all those points scored. I know for me, it doesn't affect me as much, other than that trade going through now gives Jay, who I'm playing against, a lot better lineup. But I know just, poor Josh, who had to look at it going through. It's one of those things that we agreed to already push that first couple of trades through early. So, of course, there was really no way we could say we weren't going to push this one through. But I think Josh secretly was just, going, if we do that, we just know what's going to happen, and Kelsey's going to have a good game. And, of course, he does, So that gives Clint already kind of the advantage start. So, but if we look at the rest of the breakdown, I'm giving Clint the edge for quarterback. I do think Allen outscores Lawrence. The Jaguars is going to scare me this week. They played really well last week. I mean, they're playing, right overseas. So time change and all that, which looked really good for them, right, in that second game because they adapted. They played really, really well. But now they're coming back home. You almost expect it's going to do it again for them. And it's just going to be some jet lag and all that stuff. Finally now back and seeing their families. So I don't know what to expect with Jacksonville this week. So I'm going to give that edge, of course, to Clint. Running back, I will give that edge to Josh, although I do think it's close. This is probably one of the closest matchups we had. I always give that advantage to Josh because he has McCaffrey and he has Pollard, but Eckler back, should be healthy. I think that'll be close, but I'm still going to give that advantage to Josh. Wide receivers, I say, is a toss-up between both of them. So if you kind of look at the prediction of points, nothing crazy. I don't think any of them, any of the wide receivers that they have, doesn't jump out to me that they're going to score a ton of points, so I'll say that's even. And of course, I'm going to give the tight end edge to Clint. So with all that being said, unfortunately, Josh, you're going to absorb the loss here. I think just what Kelsey's starting out with already is going to be a little too much to overcome. Clint shows that he's predicted already to win by 15, 16 points, and that's about what I think is going to happen. So Clint wins. He continues on his comeback tour to make the playoffs. This would put him 3-3. I'm pretty sure I predicted this at the very beginning of the season. After a slow start, he's going to come back on fire, make the playoffs, and then of course he makes a trade that even makes his team even better. So I say Clint gets the win, moves to 3-3. Josh drops to 3-3. The next one, Ian versus Jeremy. Again, it's always hard to pick against Ian, and this week I can't really do anything different. I do give the quarterback edge to Ian. Just 20 versus 13 on what they're predicted to be, and I don't see it being much different than that. I definitely think that Ian will have the edge there. Running back, I say it's kind of a toss-up, especially after Williams didn't have a great game. Robinson, about 17, but again, you take all that into consideration, I think it'll be pretty close to being a wash. I give Ian the edge in wide receiver, which I typically do because he has Diggs. Kirk is that one guy on that Jacksonville. It seems like when everything's going wrong and they can't get it to anybody else that they want to, Kirk's always open. And I think that's exactly what will happen this week, honestly. And he's got St. Brown, who's back and is supposed to be healthier. Even though I know he's got Waddle, but I still give that edge to Ian. Tight end, I say, is pretty much a toss-up between the two, Hawkinson and Andrews. Both of them could have big games, and I think they'll both be decent. So, unfortunately, Jeremy, if you're listening, I didn't give you an edge in any of those positions. It was either Ian or it was a tie. So, of course, then I'm going to give this win to Ian, who we said Clint's on his comeback tour. Ian's on his domination tour, and picks up another win and moves to 5-1. Our next matchup then, Jake and Dez. With this here, I'm giving the quarterback edge to neither of them. I think it actually will be a toss-up. And I get it. They say Stafford's going to be, about 3 to 4 points more. I don't think so. I think between Goff, Stafford, I think that's going to be very even. Running back, same thing. I think it's going to be very even. Jake already had one play, 15.8 points, which, decent for him, which is about the average of what all the rest of them are, and he still got Montgomery to go. I say that's still a toss-up. Wide receiver, though, I do give that edge to Dez. He's got, with Godwin and Hopkins, predicted a few more points than Davis and Smith, and I just think the opportunity is there for Dez to have more points when it's all said and done. And I do think the tight ends are pretty much going to be a wash. Kittle's not predicted a ton of points, playing against Cleveland, one of the better defenses out there, of course. Ingram, who could explode at any given time, but also can have bad weeks. But I think both of them will be pretty close. So if we look back at that, we say Dez has the advantage of wide receiver and everything else is tied. But you know what? I'm still picking Jake. And I know he's not predicted to, as of right now, he's down, about 13 points, but I think Jake comes through. I think Goff has a good enough game. I think he gets enough from his wide receivers and running backs. I say his upside for his tight end is a little bit bigger than what Dez has, so I'm going ahead and picking Jake. This would be an upset, even though it's a 4-1 team versus a 2-3 team, but just based on how the points are predicted, I'm saying Jake continues to roll, moves to 5-1, and drops Dez to 2-4. Our next matchup then, John versus Adam. Oh, already look at the points. Sorry, John. 115 to 140 expected points between you two. The breakdown here, I'm giving the edge of quarterback to Adam, which normally John always has that, but of course Mahomes already played, only scored 18, and Adam has Hurts, who I do think will actually score more than 20 on here. For running back, I say that's a toss-up between the four that we can see on the screen, and neither of them have them in their flex position. So I say that is very close in scoring. Wide receiver, probably always going to give that edge to Adam, with Chase and now Kupp back in the lineup. And then tight end, I say is a toss-up between the two, Ferguson, Kmet. Both predicted about eight some points. Don't see that being any different when everything's said and done. But of course, with Adam already having some players in play on Thursday, his defense definitely stepped up and gave him 15 points. So I'm going to give the edge, of course, the defense to Adam. So with all that said and done, what did we say? We said running back and tight end are even, and Adam has the advantage in everything else. And there's just no way you can pick against Adam, especially in this week. And honestly, I think it's probably going to be tough to pick against him most of his games throughout the rest of the season, based on making that trade and who he has now and the amount of points that he continues to put up and probably will put up. You just got to be lucky when you play Adam hopefully on some bye weeks when some of his main guys then are out and you don't have to deal with that. So sorry, pausing. Michigan just scored a touchdown. Recording this as the third quarter just started. Michigan just went up. Should be 28 now to 7. Fantastic. But anyways, back to this. Unfortunately, John gets the loss here, moves to 2-4, and Adam continues to roll. Would move to 3-3, and I've also got then Adam written down here as also his comeback tour. So this is Adam and Clint. They're on tour, comeback tour. Ian opening for their act as part of the domination tour. So anyways, moving to the most important game, because that's mine. That's between myself and Jay. Jay's team, of course, who turned around and is completely different since making that trade and now has some different players in his lineups. Unfortunately, Jay, it doesn't matter. If we look at the breakdown, I'm saying quarterback here is going to be very similar between Burrow and Jackson. I think they're both around the 20-point mark. I say that actually holds true. They both will be pretty close to each other. Running back is also actually going to be semi-close. Now, of course, this will all depend on Barkley with that big old Q next to his name. I know I've got Matt Breida. I don't know if you guys ever listen to the Fantasy Footballers podcast, but I try to listen to almost every one throughout every day. And, of course, they make fun of Matt Breida. They call him Breida Farts or Burrito Farts or whatever it is. It's, funny, but it's true when he's put in the spotlight of taking over, and it's just him he doesn't always come up and actually perform amazing. But I'm hoping Barkley is actually back for this game and stays true to the 14.4 points, if not more than than that for that. And of course, that's a Sunday late game, which sucks. I'll deal with that tomorrow when I wake up. But wide receiver, I'm giving that, to me, that is definitely the strong point of my team with Brown, Ridley, and then Keenan Allen back fresh off a bye. And it helps that, his exact matchup for the flex position was against Judy. So, heck, one catch, he's probably already exceeded what Judy has put up for that. So, all that being said, everything's pretty close, or I give myself the advantage with 3 of the wide receiver position, so I definitely think that I'm going to escape this week with a win. Jay, I will say with that trade, definitely helped your team if you needed some depth. It's just not going to help you to win this week. Judy killed you, unfortunately. So I do think that I get the win. I move to 5-1, and that would be what? Ian, myself, and Jake all at 5-1 at the halfway point, which would be phenomenal. And that would drop Jay to 2-4. So, and there is your matchups, your breakdowns for this week. Again, look forward to chit-chatting a little bit throughout the games tomorrow. And then, like we said, expect probably an extra video next week as we kind of discuss what the first half has looked like and talk a little bit more playoff predictions, second or 2.0 this time. So, all right, guys, we'll talk to you later.